Good morning on Thursday, the 30th of May, and welcome to your EPL Transfer Index Daily. There's a lot going on, ladies and gents, isn't there? International teams are now in camp, like England, France, Holland, Spain, all the big ones are starting to arrive, and the transfer rumours are all go. So, where will we start? We mentioned England coming into camp, so we might as well talk about two young English defenders because the big clubs seem to be after them, according to the papers. So, not just papers, to be fair, other sources. So let's start with the big one. Sky Sports have that Manchester United specifically are targeting Everton's 21-year-old central defender, young Jared Branthwaite, who's had a great season there, hasn't he? In a difficult set of circumstances for Everton. Specifically, Sky Sports are saying that they value him at between 60 to 70 million pounds. So it'll be interested to see what happens there. However, Everton's financial woes are well known, the 777 issues, etc. So it will be interesting to see what happens there. And I did mention young English defenders, didn't I? Because Kieran McGill and the Daily Mail have specifically that Levi Colwill, Chelsea's Levi Colwill, is still of massive interest to Liverpool. Now, they were linked strongly with him last summer, weren't they? Really interesting. It's just strange, the things that come round, shall we say. But the big thing that's come out is Arne Slot in that article is apparently interested in a versatile left-footed defender. Now, the article also from Kieran Gill says that Chelsea want Colwill to stay. However, their FFP, PSR issues, whatever you want to call them, are well known. So will Liverpool go back for that? Will be interesting to keep an eye on. And speaking of Chelsea and their FFP, PSR issues, Aston Villa are apparently interested very much. Miguel Delaney wrote about this, didn't he, in Conor Gallagher. Now, it's an interesting one that Villa are in the mix because Villa are clearly looking for midfielders, aren't they? We had the Ross Barkley story a couple of days ago. Chelsea's issues, depending if the hotel's being sold to themselves, the training ground being sold to themselves are ratified, may come into the mix. But Chalobah, Gallagher, apparently still on the market. Did look like Tottenham were the favourites at one point, didn't it, for Gallagher? But now very much Miguel Delaney has Aston Villa in the mix. Other stories that are seeing, so there's a few that have got this in different places. An interesting one, I'm not sure I believe this personally. Arne Slot and Liverpool are looking at Ollie Watkins, 28 years old, the England international, the Aston Villa forward, as a replacement for Darwin Núñez. Really struggle, to be honest, really struggle to see that happening. Watkins' age, how much Villa will want. Villa are in the Champions League. He'll be leading the line. You probably get my thoughts on that. Sticking on Liverpool, it's saying that under team talk that they're planning to offer Connor Bradley, their right back, who burst onto the scene as right backs do apparently, a new improved contract. That'll be one to keep an eye on. L'Équipe and Get French football news, quite a few had this sort of yesterday, and it's come in today's headlines as well. That Burnley's relegation, their defender, Maxime Esteve, is of interest to both West Ham and Everton, and they've opened talks with Burnley, according to both those outlets, over a deal for the young French central defender. Came from Montpellier, didn't they? It's been a difficult season. Maybe he's the one that got a bit of credit. Seems a bit unusual as well with West Ham, especially as West Ham are set to confirm their deal for Bruno, the Brazilian central defender, not the Manchester United or the Newcastle midfielder, but the Brazilian central defender, any day soon. We're waiting for that. We mentioned that one yesterday. But obviously there's a few leading. There's talks around Ogbonna, his age, is he expected to go, Aguerd, all that. So it could be a full change at the back for them. The Daily Star has got an interesting one. The United, it's double Spain almost, that they're considering a swap deal where Atletico Madrid, just to be clear, the 24, João Felix would come across to them and Mason Greenwood will go to Atletico. Other interesting things, I mean, Mbappe was talking a lot. Everyone knows what's happening with Real Madrid, don't get me wrong. But as Romano said, he's expected to announce, and Real Madrid are expected to announce, maybe it's better to say, his move there before the Euros. And obviously the French team are at Clairefontaine now, so probably expecting something any day soon. Manager-wise, it's got a little bit quiet. Obviously, we know that it's a company's been appointed. We're still waiting for Chelsea to announce. We're still waiting for the season review implications from Manchester United, aren't we, as well? However, there's a couple of managerial things to update you on. So the first one is a random name, almost like a football manager style. Ruud van Nistelrooy is apparently a contender for the Leicester job, according to the Mirror, and that's with the natural expectation that Enzo Maresca will be confirmed as the new Chelsea head coach. And Vincent Kompany, having come from Burnley, will be raiding Middlesbrough, apparently, for an assistant manager or to join his backroom team. No, it is not Michael Carrick. Many of you may be thinking who when I say this, but apparently their young coach, Aaron Danks, is who he wants to join his backroom team at Bayern Munich. I mean, what a rise that would be for the summer, eh? To be at Middlesbrough at the start of the season or the end of the season, to be at Burnley, and then to move to Bayern Munich. What a leap for both that would be. A lot of outlets as well are talking about the Calvin Phillips situation. I mean, West Ham clearly, for obvious reasons, didn't make that loan permanent. And now as multiple outlets, we're back to that, it's best to say, are saying there's a lot of interest again in Calvin Phillips. Very much Everton have been linked, but even further afield. So Red Bull Leipzig, Red Bull Salzburg, Roma, there's bet to be a lot of interest, and you fully expect him to depart again from the Etihad. It's mentioned again in a few outlets, as we said a couple of days ago, but now the Mail are going on it, saying that Mikel Arteta is in talks over a new contract that would see him become one of the highest paid managers in the Premier League. Mirror's got that Benjamin Sesko. Now, for those who've not heard of this, it's a young Slovenian striker. It's sensational, and I mean sensational end to the season for Leipzig, 20 years old. The form striker, you could argue, in the Europe at the end of the season, that he has got a set release clause. The Mirror is saying he is Arsenal's top transfer target. And we all know Arsenal are looking at bringing in a centre forward, don't we? And I mentioned them a little bit earlier about West Ham and all these defenders that are being linked with them. With what Football Insider are saying, it may well make sense, ladies and gentlemen, because according to Football Insider, both Rennes and Lyon are looking at their young, not saying oh, young, he's not young at all, but their centre half, Nayef Aguerd, around the 35 million mark. It's been an interesting season for the Moroccan, you know, a very good, very talented player, but there's always been talk, hasn't there, around is he going to stay? Is he going to go? All those types of things. So, yeah, it will be interesting to see if it is full change there. And then the only other one that kind of drew my attention, it's worth pointing out, we mentioned Dominic Calvert-Lewin was of real interest to Newcastle as they search for forward reinforcements this summer, with the expected departures, naturally, as we mentioned before, of Callum Wilson and Miguel Almiron. Interestingly, Team Talk are now saying that Everton have opened the contract negotiations in that regard to try and ward off that threat from Newcastle. However, in the same article, it also mentions, almost back to the beginning a little bit as well, that Everton do need to make a sale before the 30th of June. And keep that in mind, people. That is a month today, the 30th of June. That's the deadline, isn't it, where you need to file for FFP, PSR, the rules around the losses, how much you can lose in a rolling 3 seasons. So there are clubs that are well known, aren't there? Everton being one, that are flirting at least, shall we say, with that line. So may well have to sell. So just keep an eye on that. Gets more difficult. It's important for us to call out as well now. Teams are in international camps. That's why I said it at the start. France, Spain, England, Holland specifically, we know there's probably more, the Copa America. Why are you talking about this, Dave? What does that mean? What it means is clubs will be reluctant to do things too late. More important, countries will be reluctant to release players, won't they? Because they want them fully focused on things like the Euros, which start in not too far, the Copa America, which starts in not too far. They're not going to want players a revolving door back and forth for medicals and certain things. So don't be surprised if we see some moves in the near future. And then the only final thing I'd say, it's interesting, if you had this, And quite a few had this, interestingly enough, a meteoric rise and a half. And you're thinking about Burnley to Bayern Munich, Middlesbrough to Bayern Munich for the coaching side. Let's talk about a player, Adam Wharton, in the England provisional squad for the Euros. A sensational end to the season with Crystal Palace, isn't he? Seen as a real talent. Various outlets have got Bayern Munich linked with a move for him. And as quite a few said in their articles, it almost feels like a briefing, a orchestrated briefing, could be the player that they are missing specifically. The midfield profile, as quite a few articles have referenced it, that they're missing. Just feel like a concentrated briefing there. So, yeah, Adam Wharton to Bayern Munich, the other one that's drawn my eye this morning. So there we go, ladies and gents. On Thursday, the 30th of May, enjoy your day. And that was the EPL Index Transfer Roundup.